Hey everybody, Quantum here, and in this video I want to cover some of the latest card reveals coming out of Reign of Jafar. I know there's been a few days since my last video and there's a lot of news that have come out, but I was sick and I was very busy, so I will hopefully get to making a few different videos covering different things and my thoughts on them. But for now we're on Mushu Report Wiki, and because it's late at night, it's like 11 o'clock. I've tried to record this twice and it crashed both times. So I'm going to have to just review some relevant cards. I will do a deep dive into each ink pairing and talk about each card individually. But for right now, I just want to cover some of the cards that immediately piqued my interest. And so we'll start at the top here because, yeah, some of these cards I don't even recall seeing yet. Oh, sorry, I mean, not at the top. I'll start at the bottom here because I know that these were the ones that I've seen already. Um, so just going through here, this new Jafar, again, not saying it's amazing or anything, but it has a very unique ability that could potentially be a game-winning ability. Whenever this character quests, you may draw a card, choose and discard a card, and if it's an illusion, you play it for free. So why this is super relevant and this ability could potentially be a game-winning ability is because obviously, quest, draw a card, very good. You get a brand new card, and you probably have all your ink available, right? Because you play this card the turn before for 5. You probably have 5 or 6 ink available by the time you quest with this. It quests for 3. That's really strong. It's a 4/4 body, which means it survives most of the steel interactions like strength, storm, etc. It does still get hit by Zeus. It survives pretty much all of the strength-based removal of the ruby cards that are very popular, minus the ones that get paired with the strength reduction of sapphire and or amber. What I mean by that is, it doesn't inherently get hit by something like a big Sisu. So hitting the board, it likely will be safe, hopefully. Again, the downside is it does have to hit the board and survive for that turn. You have to be in a game state where you can afford to play this card on like turn 5. It's going to be an uninkable brick in your hand until then, locked into this ink pairing. But if you do get all of that, set up, survive that long, get to a game state where you can afford to play this and not have to worry about what your opponent has on board all the time, this comes down, it's an immediate threat to your opponent. If you are able to quest with it, and like I said, you get that +1 free draw, great. Maybe you draw something really strong, really relevant. But if you're able to discard any illusion, right, and I'm thinking like Iago is the immediate one that comes to mind, you end up playing that for free. If you have something like a Peter Pan Shadow in play, that Iago instantly hits the board for free and has Rush. You can see where I'm going with this. Potentially a game-winning tempo swing play in an ink pairing that's already pretty strong. But again, a lot of conditional things that I just outlined that have to go right for you to be able to actually afford to play this card in a game state that facilitates this line of play. So for that reason, very limited, but a very cool ability worth outlining, and potentially something you could consider when looking at future versions of Amethyst Steel. The next card I think is Minnie Mouse here. A 4-cost 8 willpower character with Bodyguard is pretty interesting for this ink pairing of Amber Ruby. Obviously, it's great fodder for something like Rapunzel, just stack up damage on it. But what I think is kind of overlooked is, yes, like you want to put damage on it to get the strength up, but it just being an 8 willpower Bodyguard on 4 to protect your earlier stuff in this ink pairing is actually kind of interesting. Like your opponent's gonna have to throw bodies into it, and they're not gonna really want to do that unless they know they can out it directly, because they're not gonna throw like 4 damage into it and just be like, I'll take it out next turn, because then you're gonna be like, great, now I have a 4/8 for on board for 4, and I can probably heal this up with Rapunzel, right? So it's like, oh, this hits the board with Bodyguard. I don't want to throw anything into it. I can't hit your other characters because it has Bodyguard. I don't want to feed your Rapunzel, so I have to wait until I have enough strength to overcome this. Obviously, the zero strength inherently makes it vulnerable to opposing Ruby strength-based removal, like Brawls and small Sisus and whatnot, big Sisus. But this is an interesting card, and I'm glad that it's in this ink pairing. Yeah, I think this could have some potential combo, which is very nice, very cool. Aside from that, I want to talk about some of the legendaries. This Bambi, I'm kind of torn on. I like inherently, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be very good, right? It's a 3-cost uninkable, so it's a brick, right? And it's a 1/1, so it's very easily dealt with any number of things. But when you play it, you gain a lore, and if your opponent doesn't have the non-character interaction to deal with this, um, they're gonna play a character. It's gonna get bounced back to your hand, and you can play it again for the free 1 lore. Is it worth paying 3 ink to play this card every turn to just gain 1 lore? No. What's interesting is there a way to maybe generate some kind of combo potential with this to protect it? Maybe. If it does survive and is able to quest, which is very, very unlikely, it quests for 3. So yeah, it's an interesting card. I don't think there's any way to make it like super applicable right now. But again, I'm happy to see that like these legendary cards aren't super busted like what we got with Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam, because I do not want $100 legendaries that you need a playset of in this game. It makes the game very inaccessible for a lot of players, which we don't want to see. I want to talk about this card, Candy Drift. Again, you guys, if you watch my videos, you know I'm up on Amber Ruby. I need playable cards in this ink pairing. I love this ink pairing. I need it to be more playable. It just, the synergy just is there, right? Like deal damage to your own stuff and then heal it up with Rapunzel's or anything else to like draw cards and stuff. Like I need more of that. Anyways, 2 cost, inkable action, draw a card. So great right off the bat. And what's the actual ability here? Chosen character of yours gets +5 strength this turn. Absolutely very powerful. But then at the end of your turn, you have to banish that character. So a pretty decent drawback. You're going to go, well, you're not really going to go -1 because it draws a card, so it replaces itself. But it's a slight tempo loss with you paying 2. And then it's a massive tempo loss when you banish the character that you use this on, potentially. The goal is that you take out something that's super relevant when you give the +5 strength boost and you take out something on the opposing side. But it is a way that, as we know, allows you to potentially beef up a character out of nowhere and really surprise your opponent and take back that tempo, right? Like they exert something because they're like, yeah, there's no way you can deal with this, and then you just bust this out of nowhere, like +5 strength, and then that weenie character that already did its job when it came into play or something gets a huge positive trade, and your opponent's like, oh shoot, like I paid 6 for the thing that I just played here, and I just got taken out by like a 2 cost character that you played 2 turns ago, and you drew a card with the card that it took it out with, right? Like I don't know, it's a cool card. Probably not super competitive because again, kind of conditional, but I think it's really interesting and it could be a cool tech option in the future. So yeah, a lot of cards here that I'm going to want to review in the future. This Madame Medusa is something that potentially caught my eye. A 3 cost inkable 3/3 for Ruby Amethyst. That's pretty decent, right? Like crabs fit this space as a 3 cost inkable 3/3. But this has the double cross ability, which says when you play this character, you may deal 2 damage to another chosen character of yours to return chosen character with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. So this could be an interesting tempo disruptor for your opponent. Even into the mid to late game, this card could stay relevant. But that being said, is it going to really displace crabs, foxes, things like that? Hard to say. What's nice is that dealing 2 damage to one of your own characters could actually be a benefit. Like you think about Diablo and Ruby Mirrors. Like you don't want to turn your Diablo sideways because like, oh, they can hit it with a shark. Now you can turn it sideways and then play this Medusa, deal 2 damage to it. And I think you can do it so that you can deal 2 damage. And then if there's not a 2 cost or less character on the board, then that's fine. You can still deal 2 damage to your own character and take it out. So you can quest with your Diablo, deal 2 damage to it, banish it, draw your card. And even in that instance, like you at least still get value out of your Diablo. I could be wrong on that ruling. I'd double check it. But if that's the way it works, it could still have utility in those like awkward scenarios. And obviously into aggro matchups, it could be very useful as well. And we know Ruby Amethyst has sometimes struggled with those aggro matchups in the past. I know I've played a lot of Ruby Amethyst, and being on the draw against some of these aggro decks, you're just like, how am I supposed to win sometimes? It's not impossible, but it can be very difficult. So that's as far as I got during my review, more or less. I didn't see this card. I saw the Donald Duck, and the Donald Duck did not seem very good, but I did not see what the actual piggy bank card is. 2 cost, uninkable item. If you have a character named Donald Duck in play, you play 1 less to play this item. Okay, so you could potentially play it for free depending on, again, the Donald synergy that you have going. Exert chosen character gets -1. I mean, for a card named this, is that really a relevant ability? Like, this is a piggy bank, so it should be something like gaining you resources or something, right? I don't know, like draw me a cards or something. I don't know. All right, a little underwhelming on that one. Scarab, return an illusion character from your discard to your hand. You have to pay 2 for it. Okay. Oh, a new Jasmine. I'm always interested in the 1-drop characters. 1/2. When you play this character, you may give another chosen character resist +1. If it could give itself resist +1, immediately I'm thinking like, okay, a 1-drop shift. Like Jasmine is a relevant name, right? Like it's a major princess. And there's already good 2-shift, not good, but there's already 2-shift Jasmines that we could be playing. But the reason why giving it itself resist +1 could be relevant is because it could survive Cindy Storm turn 1 or Bellstorm. Yeah, I mean, playing this on 1 though, like nothing to give the resist +1 to, kind of underwhelming in the end. All right, this new Pinocchio, I talked a little bit about this in my Discord. A 4-cost inkable, again, in Amethyst, 4-cost inkable, like just 4 costs in general for Amethyst. I've talked about this many times. Very competitive spot. Pinocchio, relevant name, could be very good. But are you really going to want to shift on top of this for any future potential big Pinocchios? Probably not. 0/4, 0 strength, very susceptible to a lot of the ruby removal, obviously. 4 strength, still susceptible to Zeus's, which, you know, coming down on 4, whether you're on the play or the draw, is something that you could get hit with on curve. So you could play this, instantly gets outed by a Zeus, instantly gets outed by any of the ruby removal. So a lot of things going against it, but it's potentially pretty insane. It has evasive, which is nice, right? It could survive something like an Elsa tap down on the opposing Amethyst matchups. Once per turn, or sorry, once during your turn, well, basically once per turn, whenever you ready this character, you may draw a card. So what's really interesting is like if you pair this with something like in Ruby Amethyst with like the Rhea, right? So you play this on 4 and it survives a turn, which again is a big ask in and of itself. But you quest with it, gain 2 lore, quest for 2, and then on like, you know, you play Rhea with the 4 ink, and then you ink for turn, and then you ready this up. You draw a card immediately. Again, kind of an, you know, not a wonky combo, but it is asking a lot. I know in my member only video with Ruby Sapphire, I used the Rhea with like, or even like gold coin. Like all, there's a lot of Ruby cards that can ready stuff up, right? Like LeFou, gold coin, Rhea. But using that with like the Kita that came out in set 7, I think it's called Creative Thinker. That has ward. So like when that hits the board, you know it, like it's almost uninteractable with, right? And you can ramp on 2, so you play the Kita on 3. So you get the Kita out a turn early, and then you're able to like ramp with it, and then play the Rhea, ink for turn, ready up the Kita, and then ramp again if you want, right? Or you can just keep it readied up and protected. Like you don't have that same thing here because evasive is good protection, but it's not ward. Like ward is infinitely better in that scenario for things that you want to be able to protect to proc readying abilities for. But it's still not the worst. It's probably way too conditional right now given the current power level of the format, but maybe after rotation a card like this could become very, very good. So something I would keep an eye on. I just wanted to kind of review it. What else? I didn't see this new Mickey Mouse, but I mean it's a 10 cost on Inkable, so it has Bodyguard. It's a 10/10. When you play this character, when this character is banished, deal 5 damage to each opposing character. So it's effectively a board wipe, but I mean it's really expensive. And sorry guys, I still am a little sick here, as you can probably tell. I do want to look at this new Tramp. It's a super rare in the Amber Emerald ink pairing. Another 2/8. So the other one's a 2/6, right? And it's a 7 cost inkable. You know the one that came out in set 7. I've said this before. That card is insane. I mean, you've seen it in Chernadog and even in discard Amber Emerald decks. But this one is a shift 4. It's a massive willpower body. Quest for 2. Play it cool. You know, it just occurred to me that I don't think I've ever seen Lady and the Tramp either, like fully. I think I've seen parts of that movie, but not the full thing start to finish. At least not that I can remember. But during an opponent's turn, whenever one of your characters is banished, you may draw a card. That's a pretty interesting ability. I think for the Amber Emerald strategy, this is actually pretty good. Because you're at least playing the Tramp that came out in set 7, right, which is a 2 cost. This shifts for 4. Like the downside obviously of this card is like you don't want to play it for 6. Um Even if this card itself gets removed, it will replace itself, right? Hold on, I'm gonna cough because again I am sick. Just give me 1 second. Okay. But if this thing is able to turn sideways, your opponent has to make a choice. Well, if they can even make a choice, I have to answer the rest of your board. That's pretty wide, probably. Because even if they be prepared or board wipe, like Big Sisu or whatever, like you're still drawing a ton of cards, right? If your characters get wiped out, and like if you draw a ton of cards, you're just like, I'll just replay the board. Because that's what these aggro decks lack, right? They just lack gas. So if you just regas them, they're already ahead in lore, right, to begin with. So it's gonna, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be hard to like change that dynamic of the board state. Um, so even if you wipe their board, this card will allow you to replace all the cards that were wiped out. You lose the tempo, obviously, of that board, but like you're probably so far ahead, but you just need a few little things to close out the game, anyways. Um, they're not gonna want to throw things into this without taking it out, which means if they throw like 2 or 3 characters into this card to take it out, your other cards on the board live. If they take out your other cards on the board and this thing lives, it's still a 2 quester and you're drawing cards. And if they, not that anybody would, but if they do put like partial damage into this, well then you just Rapunzel heal it. I think it's a pretty good card for the aggro strategy, considering, like I said, they do play tramps already. And I imagine we got another tramp in this. Oh yeah, here it is right here. I didn't even see this one yet. I mean, it costs 3. That's really not great. When you play this character, chosen character gains ward. I mean, that's interesting. And not something I think you'd play in the aggro strategy, though. So you're really relying on the 2 cost tramp for this one. What else did I maybe want to take a look at here? Nope. I haven't seen these new cards up here yet. That's why I'm clicking on them. This new lady is actually interesting. For let's see. When you play this character, you may play a character with cost 2 or less for free. I mean, again, you're gonna need cards in your hand. It is 3. It quests for 2. It's a 2/2, but it's tempo gain. If you can keep up the cards in your hand, this is definitely a good card. I mean, it's simple, straightforward ability, right? You just have to take a look at all of the 2 cost cards that you may want to play, and you just, I don't know if there's a way to filter from like the most popular 2 cost cards, but like any pairing, Amber Steel, Amber Emerald, Amber Amethyst, right? Like play Smeese for free, play, I mean, I guess Snake and bounces back for free. Play Cusco for free. Play any of the 1 cost for free too, but like obviously you want to play a 2 cost. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of cards that you could play, depending on the pairing. Uh, when this character is being challenging character gets -1 strength. Okay. Man, they couldn't give like good Huey, Dewey, Louie cards. I mean, it's uninkable. Nah, I think it's the uninkability hurts it too much. I don't know what these alligators are from, or crocodiles, whatever they are. What is this? During your turn, when this character is banished, if one of your characters was damaged this turn, gain 2 lore. What? During your turn, when this character is banished, if one of your characters was damaged this turn, gain 2 lore. So, if this thing crashes, it damages itself, and it gets banished, I gain 2 lore? Am I understanding that correctly? If so, this card is like not the worst for a common. It's kind of interesting. Like, I mean, yeah, it's during your turn, so like, your opponent has to have something exerted that will actually allow this thing to get banished during your turn. I mean, but in Ruby Amethyst or something, you can like force tap something down, crash this, take out an opponent's threat, take this out itself, and then gain 2 lore in the process. That's potentially really good value. But again, on 4 in Ruby Amethyst, we just talked about that. Like in Amethyst, hard to make that breakthrough. Okay. Have not seen this yet. 6 cost Inkable. Chief Bogo. Love Chief Bogo. Love Zootopia. That was one of, like, that movie was surprisingly very good. Barely remember it though, but I just remember seeing it and I was actually impressed by that movie. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your characters with Bodyguard is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character with cost 5 or less, you may play that character for free. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. So, like, immediately I'm like, your opponent's not going to play into that, right? Because it's during an opponent's turn only. I mean, they have to deal with your Bodyguard characters. I mean, I'm glad to see Bodyguard getting support. Like, Bodyguard is a really underrated and underutilized archetype or ability, I think. I think it would have been, I mean, nah. I want to make that Mickey Bodyguard work so bad. I think it's such a cool card. I think it would have been, I mean, I shouldn't say that because then it probably would have been too specific. So what I was going to say is, like, it would have been cool if this was reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a character with a Bodyguard, just play it for free. Because then you could just, like, play, like, the top deck Mickey, which costs 7, and just play it for free. But it's technically better if it costs 5 or less for free. But your opponent's really going to be like, do I really want to negatively trade into a Bodyguard? Because they probably lose the character, or at least they're losing, like, they're challenging. So they're not questing with whatever they challenge into a Bodyguard with. And then if this is on the board, like, the Bodyguard just replaces itself. So they're not going to do that. This is an interesting card. I think this is a good card. I think this is a pretty good card. Again, like, in the context of a Bodyguard deck, which is not a very good deck right now, but, like, I think it's a good card for the Bodyguards. It could be pretty cool. This new Captain Hook, for the simple fact that it's a shift 3, and we already have a semi-playable Captain Hook at 1, and from the first chapter. It's a 5 cost, which means it can sing songs. A 4/5 quest for 2. Like, come on, man. Like, Emerald Steel already got Pete. It didn't need another 5 cost inkable playable character, man. Anyways, once during your turn, whenever an opposing character is damaged, your pirate characters get +2 strength and resist +2 this turn. So obviously, you know, you shift this in. You either challenge with it, sing a song with it, something gets damaged, or even just challenge with another thing, and then your other pirates get +2 strength and resist +2, and then you can kind of clear boards. But it's not nearly as good as the Pete Space Pirate, but it's still good for the simple fact that it's shift 3, inkable, 4/5 quest for 2, and actually has a secondary ability on top of that. Like, it's a good card. It's a good card. I didn't see these ones. What is this? Undermine. Oh man, Emerald Ruby. They need some help. I can't even click on it. Okay, there we go. 2 cost inkable. Chosen opponent chooses and discards a card. Chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. I mean, I think I still prefer Sudden Chill. I mean, it's nice to have another 2 cost discard if I was going to go with discard with Ruby Emerald. We don't need more. We don't need discard infiltrating more ink pairings. Like, it's already, you know, we already have, like, what, 3? Emerald Steel, Amber Emerald, Emerald Amethyst. We don't need Emerald Ruby discard as well, okay? Like, let's cut that out right now. We need discard to be rotated out. But yeah, Sudden Chill is just better because it's a song. And the +2 strength probably doesn't matter too much. And it's only this turn, so it's not even, like, you know, till the end of the next turn. Quick Shot, 2 cost, uninkable, draw a card, deal 1 damage. Probably not great. A new Honey Lemon and Emerald Sapphire. 3/3 for 4. Need to shift. Quest for 2. Free bounce. Not really too relevant right now. I like the way this set is shaping up. Not anything that seems to be super, super powerful, but just good, solid utility cards so far from what I've seen. Or like good build around cards. No super broken legendaries from what I've seen off the bat, which is really nice. That's the way it should be. I've talked about that before. I think this card could potentially be pretty decent, just because I've talked about the power of exertion before. There's also this new card, which I did write off at first, but when I actually was thinking about it, I'm like, what am I saying? I play Dragonfire in my Ruby Amethyst now. And like, this card just being instant spot removal, yes, it does cost 1 more, and you're like, well, be prepared, costs 7, this costs 6. Yeah, but be prepared also wipes your board, and then it leaves your opponent free to develop. You're behind. This card being targeted removal, and in the Ruby Sapphire ink pairing, returning an item could be like super relevant. The item builds of Ruby Sapphire are actually still around and pretty strong. Like, they are kind of high rolly, so they lack consistency, but they are out there, and when they win, they look very, very strong. Like a card like this, especially being recurable with like Shark. Like I play Dragonfire, and Dragonfire comes in clutch a lot for me in Ruby Amethyst right now. I could see this card being good too. That's just me though. Again, if you watch my gameplay, even my Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay, like I generally am a safety first player. I play thinking like, if my opponent has the perfect cards to counter my strategy, how can I best play around that and still develop my game plan? And like, having contingencies like this is why I play Dragonfire, because like, if I see a Maui Shark on the opposing board, and you've seen this in top level play, people are like, my board is frozen, like I can't progress, like I have to wait for the shark to, like, we're in like this weird game state, right? If I have Dragonfire, I'm just like, Dragonfire, your shark, continue to progress. I play tap down cards. I've talked about in my member only video, magical maneuvers, because I saw it actually from a meta report that I did from a topping deck playing it, and I'm like, that card's actually kind of interesting, and I was testing it, and it actually was pretty good. So yeah, I think like cards like this might be overlooked. Again, they're not like amazing, they're not super broken, they're not going to be like the most meta relevant thing, but they're interesting tech options. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Otherwise, I'll just be rambling on all night, and I do got to get to sleep. I am still kind of sick, and I do need to recover. Stay tuned for the more in-depth reviews. This is just kind of a preliminary look. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my voice. Thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, Quantum is out.